Welcome back, everyone. This is Classic Homesteading Practices, and today I'm going to talk to you about bamboo and why I think it will be the best alternative to wood products. Now, for anybody who has seen bamboo, most likely in a restaurant as a side piece or a decoration, that is exactly what I'm going to be talking about. Just instead of a decoration, it's going to be used as a resource for building and creating, and I wanted to talk about it in the sense of being something that you can grow in a short amount of time and make it an abundant resource to help you build your homestead. Now, a lot of people think of bamboo as something that pandas eat, or again, is a decoration on the side of a restaurant table. But I want you to think about it as the next cheap resource to help you build fences, to build houses, farm structure, and any kind of infrastructure that you want to be putting into your yard. It is insane. For the last little while, I have been researching about bamboo because of the lumber crisis as an alternative, and also how prevalent it is already in our lives, and also looking at the cultures that have used it in their lives to, well, build structures. Now, bamboo is a hollow wood-like fibrous structure that can grow from 20 feet to all the way to 90 feet tall. They have many different diameters or inches around in size for their structure. That is a tube, small enough to be in tiny shoots, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters around, or an inch around, all the way up to 5, 6 inches around. And they have been used in our day-to-day life as a very reusable resource. I've heard of toilet paper, paper towels, diapers, yarns, straws was a new one for me. But used in other cultures, specifically more in hot climates or in Asiatic cultures, Japan as well, they are used for wells, walls, flooring, and sheds. I know that there's beautiful decor that is made out of them, tables and chairs included. The support system of bamboo for being used like that makes them very strong, and also the workmanship behind them is beautiful. Now, one of the reasons why I also love bamboo, I said a little bit earlier, is because of how quickly this resource comes back. A shoot of bamboo can rise 3 feet in one day, 6 feet sometimes as well, depending on the type of bamboo, which just blows my ever-loving mind, to be honest, because I haven't heard of any other resource being able to produce that size in such a small amount of time. And what can you do with this? Well, again, you can take one small clump, which I have looked at bamboo nurseries now because I'm really thinking of getting into bamboo. Some can range in prices of $25 if you're going to be going for a thin decorative bamboo, all the way to $75. And these resources, these shoots that come in clumps, you put them in the ground. They do require a warmer climate, but as soon as you start growing them, the shoot will get larger and larger with time because they are a rhizomal, or a plant that will create offshoots. So you can cut down the bamboo that is growing and not kill off the plant, because it will be growing these little nodules underneath the ground that create new bamboo. Now, I've also seen that bamboo will grow a shoot on a cut off area. So on bamboo, you will see these lines or segment pieces on the bamboo. These are nodules, and if you cut tall bamboo right above one of these nodules, for some species they will grow a new piece of bamboo right at that nodule, and it will keep on growing. Now, I don't know how the bamboo will suffer, whether it will bush out and grow as tall as it would have been, or if it will stunt it, and this new bamboo nodule will only grow to a smaller new height. However, if the bamboo still grows to the same thickness and it grows within the height that you need to use as its resource, say a 6-foot piece that you're going to be using instead of a piece of lumber for a chicken coop or a shed, you still have that usable piece, which means that you are able to cut to size your bamboo and then let the shoots regrow. And depending on how quickly it decides to shoot up, remember, some of these will grow 3 feet in a day, then you can have your resource grow you all the shoots you need for your project in, we'll say, a season, depending on how many clumps you decide to get of bamboo or how many shoots decide to come up. And again, if you let them grow to full size, which will take multiple years, that is another thing about bamboo. If you decide to leave it to full height and not touch it until it is full height, so 20, 45, 90 feet, depending on the growth rate, you will have to wait longer. However, 3 years of growing bamboo for a long-term project, for me personally, is no time at all. It lets you prepare for what you want to use your bamboo for, and it's way faster than cutting down trees, especially if you don't live in a treed area. Sorry, I caught myself thinking about growing a tree for 50 years in order to use it for the same project as growing clumps of bamboo for 3 years. And the thought blew my mind away for a second. And again, because it is so structurally sound, definitely nothing compared to lumber, but still sturdy enough to get the job done. Having bamboo as a resource to create, the foundation for your farm seems like a very cheap, very fast, and very effective way to have your infrastructure set up, especially if you have a large place to do bamboo at. Now, if you don't have a large place and you only have a small clump to deal with, it may just be more cost effective to go ahead and go to the lumber store and get what you need for your project. Then again, a chicken coop made out of bamboo just sounds really darn cool to me. And also learning how to build with bamboo. I've seen people use manual saws to cut them down and machetes to cut them up into strips so they can build fences and, again, floors, goodness, walls, and otherwise. The framing material for it as well. It's a pretty empowering skill to have as far as architecture goes, and learning how to use this resource to the fullest. Considering how many different resources we have available to us, thinking about using something different besides wood in this giant industry of construction and consumerism, where unfortunately we have taken a very hard turn away from building things with our own two hands. I feel like bamboo and the cheapness of it would give us a little bit of power back, instead of having to deal with big box brands setting prices, enormous prices, for lumber that should never be above $2 for 2x4, in my opinion. And being able to have the resource right in your backyard, and a lot more easy to manipulate as you learn about dealing with bamboo. Just seems very satisfying to me. A very efficient and economic way to help you with, supplementing at least for your projects. And again, because of how quick it grows and how vigorous it grows, you won't be running out of that resource anytime soon. Just a thought. For anybody who grows bamboo, this is for the YouTube crowd, because unfortunately Spotify and other podcasting places do not have this ability, but comment down below if you have grown bamboo and used it for any other projects. What are the projects that you've used bamboo for? How quickly has your bamboo grown? What are the ways that you've grown it? And if there's anything that you would want to have done differently with your bamboo, or to share with somebody who wants to get into growing bamboo like myself, because I've said I'm about to embark on that journey. I would love to know your thoughts and feelings about it. I do know, again, that if you are in colder climates, you are still going to be able to grow bamboo. You will need to dig up the rhizome of the plant every winter so you can remake it, unless you have a cold hardy bamboo shoot. It will probably grow a little bit slower than in warm climates because, again, it is a more jungle or warm weathered plant. And for people who live in warmer climates, you need to figure out the best spot for your bamboo, because it is going to be a full sun plant. It is a semi-water heavy plant, and it will keep growing throughout the years, even if it goes dormant during the winter time with rain and whatnot. And it's very exciting to try and develop a different resource for your plans. I'm curious if anybody else has a resource like wattle and daubing, for instance, where You can make a structure from dirt, clay, and hay that they have pursued for their infrastructure. Now, if anybody hasn't heard about wattle and daubing, I'll talk about that for just a second. Well, I guess I could do this episode as a resource episode and talk about wattle and daubing a little bit more. Wattle and daubing, like I said, is where you take clay or dirt, sand, and water and mix it together with hay. And this makes an old-fashioned form of concrete. And what you do with this is build a structure out of it. You can build it with or without wood, which is fantastic. And it is a very sturdy and long-lasting structure material. I personally like to have a frame built out around it. So a couple of logs, timber, or 2x4s to make the perimeter of where I'm going to do the wattle and daubing. And then I will make the mixture and then start slinging it onto the frame itself. And what you're doing is literally taking that little kid instinct to play with this mud mixture, essentially, and you're going to be building on top of it. And you're going to let the sun cure it. Why would you use this as a technique? Because one, again, it is very sturdy, so much so that people have made huts and homes that have lasted over hundreds of years. And also because of certain, again, resource inefficiencies, depending on where you're at, wattle and daubing is very cheap. If you know somebody who is handing out free straw, if you know somebody who wants to get the grass, this dead grass out of their property, freaking take it. Sandbags over at the big box stores are about $2.50 to $5 for 50 pounds. That can make a lot for wattle and daubing. And again, if you find dirt, you can find free dirt in a lot of different places in your community. You can even go to your landfill and see if they have free dirt to fill in garden beds, or at least you could tell them that you're filling in garden beds. Or you can go into your local free page and try and find some. Or you can just pay dirt cheap for dirt. It all depends on what you want to do with it. Now, for people who are homesteading, who have large amounts of acreage, you could also shovel up your own dirt. Again, mix sand and water and hay. Preferably straw, though. Dry straw is what you really want. And what basically makes this a form of concrete is the straw and the sand are your binders and your fibrous material that keep everything clumped together. And the ratio in which that you put this in is fairly simple. The recipe is funny enough. The first thing that I Googled was a cob mix or wattle and daub mix, which has bamboo in it. So that's perfect. But the one that I know, and also the one that Google gives as a recipe, is 3 parts soil or dirt, 1 part river sand or, big box store brand sand, 1 part bamboo leaves or 1 part straw, and then 1 part water. Mix it all up and start putting it on top of each other. It's as simple as that. And then, depending on what you're going to be building, personally, I've seen people build hog shacks and fencing for it, and they literally come up and scratch their sides with it, and it does not budge. If you do see holes in it, it is so easy to just make more cob and smatter it on any weaknesses, and then of course just let the sun dry it out. It holds up in the weather elements, so snow, wind, rain. Cob is not going to die from it. It's not going to wash away after it has been cured by the sun. And again, low maintenance on it. Yes, there's going to be some erosion after a little bit of time, but as long as you make your cob, your wattle and daub thick, I'm talking about 2 inches to 3-4 inches thick, you will not have to worry about erosion or refilling holes and gaps anytime soon. And again, you do not need to frame it. I have seen people who have just stacked cob on top of each other and then left it to cure and then put their hogs in there. I've also seen people who, again, do decide to frame it, and it's very minimal wood or bamboo. I've even seen people reuse metal and pipes, PVC pipe as their framing, and then wattle and daub around that. And again, it's just a really simple way of getting a structure built with a very inexpensive way to do it. So don't just stick to one aspect of, materials. Screws and nails and lumber are not your only way to make something. It never will be. It never has been. All cultures from different parts of the world have had to use different materials because we don't have all the same materials. And the nice thing is because when something becomes expensive, we have an economic scare that happened, and the demand of one thing goes up, so the price goes up with it. We can always go to something else. You don't ever have to be shunted into one thing. And I hope that with this knowledge, it may broaden your horizons on what to look at again for different materials to use for your structures or to plant. All right, this is Classic Homesteading Practices. Hoping you enjoyed thinking about growing bamboo and maybe even using wattle and daubing for structures for building and for helping yourself with your homestead. All right, have a wonderful day, everybody.